Hello everyone, you are welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna Musafina and we are still talking about learning difficulties or learning challenges. We started with dyslexia and we are now on dysgraphia. In the previous episode, I spoke about the signs and symptoms of dysgraphia, and today we are going to be talking about the causes and some of the types of dysgraphia. Now, if you have not watched the previous videos, I would encourage you to do so you can get the flow and the connection. And so let's dive right into the types of dysgraphia.
Okay, and so there are a lot of types when it comes to dysgraphia, but we are going to focus on the three main types. And the first we are going to talk about is motor dysgraphia. Now, this type affects the physical act of writing, and the struggle is usually with fine motor skills. And so when we talk about fine motor, it's everything that has to do with the wrist, the fingers, the fingertips. And so you will notice that a child who has this kind of struggle, or a child who has this type of dysgraphia, which is the motor dysgraphia, will struggle to form letters, will struggle to write eligibly. And you will notice that this child, it's not that the child does not want to write, but there's a difficulty with the gripping, there's a difficulty with the writing. That type of dysgraphia is called motor dysgraphia. Now, the second type is spatial dysgraphia. Now, usually they have troubles with understanding sizing, they have troubles understanding spacing, and then writing on a line. And so usually a child who has this type of dysgraphia, you notice that they don't know when to write like capital A as a big A and then the small a. They could end up writing the small a rather huge and then the capital A small. Or if it's probably spacing, they would write, they're supposed to write boy, B-O-Y, close together. B can be somewhere else, Y somewhere else. Or they could write B-O and then the Y somewhere else. And then if you give them a line to write on, some will be flying, some will be sitting on the line. It is not their fault. That child is probably having the type of dysgraphia called spatial dysgraphia. And now to the third and final type of dysgraphia is the language-based dysgraphia. Usually, children that suffer with this or that struggle with this, they have difficulty organizing language into written form. And so usually you will notice that they have challenges when it comes to grammar, when it comes to spelling, or when it comes to writing logical sentences, because they are not able to process the language well to actually bring it out and write. So you can communicate to that child, they'll speak very good English, but then you ask them to spell and then it is a struggle. You ask them to write, it's a struggle. Or you can actually do reading with them and then now you are done, comprehension, okay, it's time to write, and then that child is struggling. And then you feel like, is it that this child is being lazy? No. If you take your time and you actually study them, you realize that there is actually a pattern. And then when you notice that pattern, then and it's actually because it's not because they can't understand what you're saying, but then it's because of the writing, the grammar, the spelling. That child is suffering from the language-based type of dysgraphia. And mind you, like I keep saying, whenever you notice this thing, it's always good to go and get a diagnosis. Then you know what you are targeting, you know what you are actually working towards. And so these are the three types of dysgraphia we are going to be talking about. Now I'm moving straight to the causes. Okay, so now let's talk about the causes. I'm pretty sure you're wondering, what is this and where is this coming from? So one of the causes is actually genetics. So if you have somebody in the family who has this challenge or this learning difficulty, it's very possible that it can be passed on. So genetics is one cause. Now we have brain injury. So probably that child suffered from a brain trauma or probably had a stroke. It could also affect that child, and or sometimes in adults, so that person could also get dysgraphia. And then some developmental delays can also cause dysgraphia. Then finally, there are some underlying causes. So sometimes probably a child has dyslexia. The child could also get dysgraphia as a result of having dyslexia, or the child probably has autism or has Down syndrome or has ADHD. Sometimes some of these underlying causes could also be linked to dysgraphia. And so I would keep saying the same thing again. Before you become a doctor and start diagnosis, first please go and see a doctor, go and see a trained specialist, an educational psychologist, or a doctor, who actually is certified and can tell you that this is what it is. Because mind you, sometimes some of these conditions overlap, and so you may think it's dysgraphia, but you're actually probably dealing with dyslexia. You may think it's dyslexia, but you're actually dealing with dysgraphia. And so this is where we will end today's discussion. Next week we would summarize everything on dysgraphia and then move to dyscalculia. But mind you, if you have not watched the previous videos, I would encourage you to do so you can get a connection and the flow. Thank you so much for watching. Lots of love from me to you all.